So, welcome to the Possible Woman podcast, where we uncover the extraordinary stories of remarkable women making waves in their fields. And today is no different. So, get ready to meet Jen Loving. First of all, the last name, Loving, who, that's just amazing to me. But she is the CEO of Engaging Speakers. She's a business coach extraordinaire, a best-selling author, and a dedicated philanthropist. I mean, imagine this building not just one, I mean, think about this, not one, but five businesses to six figures each, all within a single year and all in different industries. And can I tell you, she's also a multiple mom, like not one kid, but I believe there's four. And we'll talk about that later. But that's Jen's incredible journey, a testament to her entrepreneurial, unwavering dedication. But her success doesn't stop there. Jen has leveraged her expertise to guide over 1,000 entrepreneurs towards their own and seven figure revenues. I mean, again, amazing. Welcome to the Possible Woman podcast, where we empower female entrepreneurs to make their dreams a reality. I'm your host, Sharon Ringer, and you're in the right place if you're ready to break free from the hustle, gain clarity, and find true success in both your business and life. Tired of feeling stuck and overwhelmed by endless advice? I've been there too. After years of trying to figure it out, I realized I needed to get crystal clear on my vision. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Without goals, you don't have direction, and without direction, you won't get to where you want to go. There's a strategy behind setting goals, and once they're set, you'll feel empowered to take action and make real progress. We'll have real conversations with inspiring women sharing strategies and success stories to help you gain clarity, confidence, and overcome self-doubt. So let's get started. It's time to unleash your inner possible woman and make those big dreams happen. So Jen, without further ado, welcome to the Possible Woman podcast. It's so wonderful to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Sharon. It's wonderful to be with you too.
So I'm just going to dive right in with my first question because it's like when I read a lot of like what you gave me for this interview, I was just like, oh my God, you just have a lot going on. And unlike the other ladies, I've known you for a very long time. So I've kind of watched your journey as well and have learned from it. So can you share a bit about your journey, like leading up to like being chosen for HERstory Unveiled?
Sure. My background is actually as an occupational therapist. That was my degree. I had become a therapist coming out of college. And my first business was teaching people with disabilities how to drive. And I got my
Oh, wow.
entrepreneurial spirit from my father. And he had worked as a blue collar worker for over 20 years and was able to retire in his 40s, and he started a limousine business. So as a 16-year-old girl, I got to watch him go from being a blue collar worker, working a job his whole life, to stepping into the entrepreneurial world and seeing what it took to actually be successful. And so he ran that business for like 37 years before he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And it was really an honor to like watch him and be part of that and help support him. And I learned a lot from that experience. And I think that's what gave me the desire to actually go on the entrepreneurial journey as well. I love the time and freedom that it created for him and I in our relationship, and being able to, have dinner or lunch or breakfast anytime that we wanted, to be able to meet up anytime. Like, he had full control over his schedule. And even though he had a really successful business, he made time for me, and the business he had allowed for that. The entrepreneurship allowed for that. So when I became a mom, I've always wanted to be a mom since I was a little girl. Like, that was a dream of mine. So that was a really important piece for me, is that I wanted to be able to be there with my kids as they grew up. And so being an entrepreneur allowed me to do that as well.
Awesome, awesome. So this is off the track. How many kids do you have again?
So I have 4 now. We tried for 6 years to have children. And it was hard. Like, it was 6 years of infertility treatments, like a lot of
Oh,
treatments, like all the type of treatments you can imagine, everything. I tried everything from, you know, things you'd read on the internet to try to get pregnant, to working with the best specialists in the world. It just wasn't happening. And so
right.
I had a really unique way of getting my first child, which was through adoption, which was unexpected. It was actually a woman from my church who had connected me with the birth mom, and she had planned to have my daughter adopted by another family in a different state. But when she was born, she wasn't comfortable with that plan anymore. So this lady from a church knew we were on the prayer list for 6 years, and said to her that there's this family that has been wanting a child for all this time. Would you be open to meeting her? And the birth mom said yes. And so she called me, and it was a Monday night. And then we went and met her and the baby on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, she said she wanted us to have her. And Friday, she was in my house, and I was running my full-time business, and all of a sudden just given a baby. And I had to call. It was back when this was 22 years ago, back when we had big phone books. And so I went to adoption, found the biggest ad I could find, and called the agency and found out what I need to do to make her legally mine. And then we did IVF, and got pregnant with twins 5 months into having Maddie. And so then twins came, Luke and Lindsay. And then the last one was a surprise. We had a 2-year-old and 1-year-old twins, and all of a sudden my body decided to start working. And so I had 4 children, 3 and under, after 6 years of fertility, and I got my tubes tied, which was crazy to consider after all those years of trying to actually do something to not get pregnant again. But I was definitely full of children, and I really was, content with 3 girls and a boy, and all 4 of them being 3 and under was a very good in a lot of ways, but also challenging too.
Yeah. Wow. So that leads me into my next question. And that's okay. So for moms out there, because you definitely, I only have 2 and they were 4 years apart. So I can't even begin to imagine what that looks like. And you talked about your laundry challenges. So can you elaborate on your laundry challenges, which not only helped you manage the chaos at home, but also empowered you to reclaim thousands of hours from for your entrepreneurial pursuits, right? And then how did this experience shape your approach to problem solving in both your personal and professional life?
Well, the laundry story is I think it's an overall example of something relatable that moms, if you're a mom, you understand laundry and the challenges, especially if you have little ones, around putting laundry away and toddlers getting into it, making a mess, wondering why did you spend time doing it? Like I was going through all of that, and it was kind of on steroids, the problem. I had a huge problem. I had like a 5 foot by 4 foot pile on my family
I
room floor.
remember reading that. I was just like, oh my God. I
Yeah,
can't
I was
imagine that
in
much
tears,
laundry.
and it was quite the sight, and it gave me tears because it was just a never-ending struggle that I didn't have a solution for, and I had no systems that actually worked for me with laundry. Like everything I tried a bunch of different things I could think of, and nothing worked. And so I had a neighbor come over and actually share with me her laundry system that was really outside of the box. And
Okay.
I at first was thinking, there's no way I would do that because it's very outside the box. It involved like 4 bins, these big 5, the big Rubbermaid bins, and have a dirty bin and a clean bin for each of the kids. And there was no separating laundry, like colors. Like I got special laundry detergent. I didn't have to like do darks or whites. Like I could put it all together. It didn't involve any folding. It didn't involve putting away. It was just like dump the dirty bin in the washer, then put it in the dryer, then dump it in the clean bin. Pull out the socks and create a little sock basket when they got big enough to start wearing underwear, pull the underwear out, put it in an underwear basket. And so it was very much of a outside the box system. And it was all inside the laundry room. There was no putting the bins away in the rooms. It was just all contained. And so hearing that system, I was really resistant, but then after kind of contemplating it for the day, by the time my husband got home, I was like, you have to go to Menards or Home Depot or somewhere and get me this stuff and put together these shelves and create this system. And it was not a full laundry room, like where you could walk around. It was like a pass through, you go through the garage and the washer and dryer one side, and then there was just a utility tub and some shelves. So it was really small. It wasn't like this big elaborate, situation either, but it was, it was transforming, and it allowed me to save like an hour of laundry. I'd probably spend an hour a day doing laundry prior to the system. And with that system, I didn't spend any time doing laundry. It was very fluid. And so I saved an hour a day. And I had, did the calculations on, we did that for 10 years, that system. And that allowed me, if you take an hour a day for 10 years, it's actually 2 years of working full time is how much time it saved me in just doing laundry in this certain kind of way. And so I share that story just to talk to other entrepreneurs, and say that, that might not seem like it has anything to do with business, the laundry story, and you can relate as a mom to that, maybe be curious about what the system is. So you can save that time. But But from a business perspective, I think it really has everything to do with business in the sense of like every piece of laundry for me felt like it was just like a big mess. And I think in entrepreneurship, a lot of times in our businesses, we could feel like all the things we need to do can feel overwhelming and just like a big mess. Like, how do we organize this? How do we actually get to the outcomes that we really want? And how do we be efficient with our time and be effective with our time?
Exactly.
And so thinking outside the box and being willing to follow a system, a blueprint, a way of doing a process of doing laundry is true for entrepreneurship as well. Like I run into so many entrepreneurs that are absolutely amazing at what they do for their actual skill set, like their core business.
Right.
They're so gifted and they're so good at it. And so because they're so good at it, their thoughts are, I'm just going to go out and do this for myself. Like I'm going to be an entrepreneur because then I can have all the benefits of entrepreneurship and work for myself. But the challenge is entrepreneurship has a framework as well. It has a blueprint. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with how to actually go about building a business successfully. And so I felt like that same feeling that I think a lot of entrepreneurs must feel like when it's laundry. Like I was like, there has to be a way to do this. Like I can't keep doing this over and over again. Like this is exhausting. And like it was just that emotion, that feeling that was feeling that I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to when it comes to actually building a business. Like they're so good at what they do. They know they're so good at what they do. If they could just attract their ideal clients, be able to work with them, change lives, make an impact they want, that's what they're seeking. But this entrepreneurship, container that of like, how do you build it in that realm? Like I love to teach that because there is a system for entrepreneurship, which I had a coach challenge me in my third business. She said, you keep building businesses and they're all in different industries and you're building them so fast and so successfully. Like, what are you doing? If there's a methodology to what you do. And I never thought about that before. Like I just was doing my thing. I didn't really think about some methodology that I had for entrepreneurship. And I started to actually pay attention when she asked me that, you could really help a lot of people if you could identify what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to really look at that, like, what is my methodology? And how do I go about building businesses, whether it's, a driver rehab business, a business coaching business, a network marketing business, I had all these different types of businesses that I was growing at the time, like what is it that I'm doing? And so I was able to dissect that and look at that and create a methodology and a blueprint. And I started to share it. And it was duplicating. Like I was seeing other people that were wanting to learn this entrepreneurial piece and just having huge success and getting to six figures really quickly in less than a year as well. And so I think that's my laundry story is the concept that there is a system out there. Anything that we're
Right.
struggling with, that there's people that have gone before us that have figured it out.
That
And
part.
even if
Yep.
it might feel outside of the box, and not maybe what you would normally think of, like that's beautiful because it can reduce your trial and error. It can get you the outcomes that you want if you're willing and open to doing things maybe a little differently than how you've done before. So
Right. And I
yeah.
love that even though people say using that term outside the box is
Mhm.
cliche or not, that is entrepreneurship. And if you think that you can do entrepreneurship like Target, you're sadly mistaken because we do have to think outside the box in order for it to function. Because what we have, coaches and, service based, whatever the case may be, authors, because of that, we have to be outside the box.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it won't work. We can't do it the way, like I even tell people that are in network marketing, it's like brand yourself because the
Mhm.
network marketers already have their brand yourself as the expert that's offering this service. But if you decide that you want to change, you are still branded as the expert of XYZ, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's, cooking, whatever the case may be, you're still branded. But it's like that piece right there, that outside the box and figuring out your system, that is so like that's angel singing to me right now.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. That was just yeah. I love talking to you, by the way.
Thank you. I
Because
love
I've always thought you were so brilliant. But I mean, of course, your testimony says it all, six businesses, all over six figures. Just saying.
Mhm.
So, next question.
Yep.
So her story Unveiled aims to highlight the achievements of women entrepreneurs like yourself. What aspects of your story do you hope resonates with most of the women that are listening, as well as the readers of the magazine?
Maybe a little bit of what we just talked about, that there is a pathway for entrepreneurship that they too can learn. And it's something that if they're struggling in their business, I often find working with entrepreneurs that they have a lot of things right. They're doing a lot of things really well, but there can tend to be what I call Swiss cheese, like holes in the business, and they just don't even know what the holes are because they don't, it's
Right.
like you don't know what you don't know. And then also the sequencing, that there is a sequencing that occurs in entrepreneurship that you might be working on step 40 when you haven't even done step 8, but you didn't even know 8 existed because no one has actually revealed to you what the entrepreneurship framework, blueprint, process, all of that, what is that? And so I guess that would be my hope is that other entrepreneurs that read our stories, like we're all just everyday women, that have maybe done what some would say are extraordinary things, but they can too. And that any challenge that they're having in their business, it's fixable. I love to tell that to entrepreneurs that anything that you're struggling with, it's fixable. And even when I go through struggles, I say that to myself, you know what? This is fixable. And I have found that the best way to fix things is often found in a person. So like for me with that laundry story, for example, my neighbor, that's the solution was found in her sharing with me. And so I feel like us using, and reaching out to the networks and those that we have in our lives are those people in our lives for a reason, or the connections that we make are there for a reason, or we hear about somebody for a reason, because that person can bring the answers that we're looking for. And so here's a whole group of women that, hopefully are inspiring and may have answers for the readers and in just different ways. And so reaching out to them and, getting those answers I think is what I hope happens is that people find solutions and that they find the fixes to the things that they need fixing.
Awesome. And I mean, again, it's all about how do we contribute to empower women in business. And that's what this whole platform is. It's like I always tell people when they're even contributing writing for the magazine itself, it's like, don't just do a glorified bio, give some helpful tips to help them move their business forward. That's
Mhm.
what really kind of, I mean, because then you're creating this, how can I say, it's almost like an invisible bond. Like if I again, yes, I read your story, but what gets me is, you know, my God, she figured out that laundry thing, and I couldn't even imagine the 4 kids. But when you took it and spent, you spun it around to where it's like it was still a business decision, and it was something that you can incorporate it. Those are the things I think that will help move women forward, and especially during their journey.
Yeah,
So
that piece of the business decision, just to clarify for those maybe that didn't read it, is that I was having a challenge with time, like having 4 children, 3 and under, and needing to work my business. I didn't have the time I needed because the kids weren't napping at the same time. And you know how it is being a mom. So one
oh
of the
yeah.
things I noticed that was sucking up a lot of my time was laundry. And so that's why it became such a thing that needed fixing. And so that's why it became, a focus for me from a business perspective is I needed to find a solution to that so I can get back more time so I could devote to the business, which I needed to do to make the money that I needed to make to handle and take care of the kids and all of that. So it all kind of worked together in that respect.
But the simplicity of what you just said is actually the magnitude. It's simple, but the magnitude of it is really massive, because no one would ever think, if I've got to run a business and I've got these kids, and I mean, life happens. I was blessed enough to have 4 years in between mine, and I struggled.
Mhm.
I can't imagine having 4 kids within 3 years. I think that I would have probably been in someone's, I'm just being honest, a sane asylum, because I don't know how I even managed with the two boys with 4 years apart. So that in itself, it's again, it's how do we manage life, because we think that just because we have a business, the rest doesn't need to be worked on. And you found a way to take something so simple as laundry and make it work for you.
Mhm.
You found a strategy, and that's the beauty of it to me. Like, that's why the story stuck so much with me. Is like, that was amazing, at least to me. So, and
Yeah.
I hope that it moves other women as well, because I think that especially moms, and
Mhm.
people that are caregivers, and there's so many different things that we could take that story and use it can resonate in so many different places.
And I
So
hope that it's really encouraging, inspiring people to have a solution orientated mindset. I think that's a
right.
really big piece when it comes to being a business owner and entrepreneur is whenever you come across challenges, because you definitely will. I mean, the
Oh
process
yeah.
of getting to success is failure. It's just, and that's embracing that. Like we fail our way to success. It's just like one
Yeah.
failure after another, course correct and course correct. But, as we're coming across challenges, then what is the solution, to the challenges that we're having that are getting in the way of where we want to go? And so the laundry is just one of my challenges, but we all have different challenges. And so what are the challenges that you're facing? And then what are the solutions, and who could help you with finding a solution that might be outside the box, but could really bring the answer that you need.
Awesome. So my next one is so her story Unveiled
Mhm.
emphasizes celebrating leading women like yourself.
Mhm.
Can you share a woman entrepreneur who has inspired or influenced you personally?
I think most recently, I would say Michelle Obama. I
Oh,
feel like her story, I think, really inspires me in the sense of, she, maybe was not as known until her husband became president. And then she had the freedom and the opportunity to really search her heart for the things that are important for her and the impact that she wants to make in the world, and got a chance to do that through that platform, as the, president's wife and first lady. But then, during COVID, she also then wrote a book, and now she's on a speaking tour. And I just love that she's using her voice to make a
yes,
difference in the world, and that she's using media and, outlets and connections in her network and all the things that she gained through, being the first lady to like further herself. Like, she stands on her own. It's not like she's,
right,
President Obama's wife. She is Michelle Obama, and people know her for her and the impact that she's making and what she really has a heart for. And so I really love that story, and I love how she's, standing on her own and shining on her own.
that's awesome. Yeah, I love her too. I love her and her husband. Just saying.
Mhm.
That I love them both. They are amazing people, but she is definitely a force to be reckoned with. I love it.
Mhm.
So aside from what we talked about as part of the initiative of Her Story Untold, Unveiled, sorry. How do you hope to inspire other aspiring female entrepreneurs?
And I hope that they can begin to believe, like, that's my heart, is that it could raise their belief level and believe that they too can get to 6 and 7 figures in their business. And that doesn't have to take years and years and years, that they can have the success that their hearts desires to have.
Right,
And that there are solutions to whatever challenges they're having that are getting in the way of that. And that they begin to believe that. And, I truly believe Henry Ford's quote, if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you're right
right,
too. And so belief, I think, is a really important element of success. Our mindset is a really, from a foundation standpoint in entrepreneurship, is a really important element of our success, is like keeping our belief level high and really doing things that feed our belief level and help us to continue to have that mindset and believe that we can achieve the goals that we have. Because once we lose that belief, um, we start to see that reflected in our work and in the
hmm,
outcomes that we have.
yes, yes. Oh my God, you just make me want to lean in every time.
Mm,
So this has been amazing, but I have one last piece that I want to talk about
sure.
before I let you go.
Okay.
Can you share a little about your initiative for helping children with cancer? Like this, that moved me. I didn't even want to say the name. I want you to just share about that because that is like why it started,
Mhm.
why you're doing it, the whole 9 yards. Like, take a few minutes to tell us about that because that's such a beautiful initiative.
Yeah, sadly, I lost my mom and my dad and my best friend all to cancer in a year and a half time. So they all died young, and they all died of stage 4 cancer, and they all loved children. And my best friend, her name was Jen also. She had 3 girls and a boy like me also. We were in each other's weddings. Like, she and I did life together. And she was an incredible mom. And my mom and dad loved my kids. And I was just thinking about the journey that they all went on, with cancer, and recognizing that cancer is such a big thing for children,
Yeah.
and it affects the whole family. And that I really wanted to do something that would bring joy. It was kind of a joy project, starting, Handing Hope is the name of the nonprofit. And the concept was really to just bring comfort and smiles to children battling cancer. One of the things that is very common when children or adults go through cancer is there's a recommendation to stop in having sugar and taking sugar. And for children, a lot of times as parents, something, if they're hurting, you give them a treat, or, rewards, you give them treats, like all that. Like we do a lot in parenting around treats with our children. And so when kids are going through cancer and they're going through that really hard challenge, and to not be able to give them a treat, I feel like that's just a simple thing that is taken away. And so in this initiative, we were just getting these really incredible lollipops that were naturally sweetened with like natural sweetener from our birch tree. And they're dye-free and gluten-free and soy-free and dairy-free, and like all the frees that, people would need so that they're completely safe and healthy for any child. And then we had these like wooden lollipop stands that the lollipops would fit inside and create like a tree. And then we would decorate the trees, like if a child wanted to go home with them and they had a special theme, like they loved the Cubs, and we would decorate it that way. And they would just have their personal lollipop tree, but we would deliver these trees to cancer hospitals for children around the world. And then kids could have the treat, and the parents could feel good, and the staff could feel good about giving a treat, not feeling like they're contributing to giving them, something that they shouldn't give them for the sake of their like emotional health, which is just as important as their physical health. So that was the concept of starting Handing Hope. And it's been a beautiful project. We've loved doing it. I'm actually now transitioning also into doing some different things with Handing Hope, because since COVID, there's been changes in how we have access to the floors and the joy that we can receive from doing that project. I'm really passionate actually about starting to really talk more about just what loving is. And so I'm actually launching a brand called Loving Is, and going to be interviewing people about love and just like
Oh
the
my
power
God.
of what does what does loving look like to you, and give an example of like a time when you felt unconditionally loved. And I truly believe that, what inspired me to do Handing Hope and a lot of things in my life, and why I changed my last name to Loving, is that healing is the application of love to the part of you that hurts. And so when it comes to changing the world, I really believe that loving can change the world if we do it intentionally and unconditionally. And so I'm really excited about like that piece of that I'm like now entering into, and I'm planning to launch a TV show in May called Loving Is, and then eventually take the best stories from those interviews and turn them into a book, and then eventually do a speaking tour called Loving Is. So that's a little bit of the history of Handing Hope, and like the direction also where I'm going now.
That's beautiful. Oh my God. I wasn't expecting that one.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much,
Yeah,
Jen. This was definitely a delight.
awesome.
How can people connect with you?
You can always just go to my website, jenloving.com. And also, you can leave, I'm sure, leave in the show notes my cell phone number and my email. Love to connect with anybody that's wanting to have a further conversation. I'd love that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you, Jen, for being here. I really appreciate your time because this was
Thank you.
definitely a great conversation. So everyone, again, be back because we will be interviewing more amazing women. And until next time, have an amazingly blessed day.
Yes, much love.